about it. So this week's webinar, if you can see on the front on top there, is my diet healthy? From hangry to healthy, the best 30 years. And that's what we're hoping for you. We're hoping that the next 30 years is the very best you've ever had, that whatever happens in your health and in your life becomes better than where it is tonight and today. So some questions that come up frequently is, why isn't my metabolism working? Everybody has this idea that when you get older, then your metabolism stops working. And another question that comes up is, how can I change my fat levels? Well, what does that really mean? You see that you got extra fat on your body maybe, or you just can't seem to move out of that. And what's going on with that? And how can you change those problems out? And are results possible? What can I expect? So we're going to kind of go historically a little bit about what's been happening in the health field over the last 10 years specifically, that's been becoming more and more pronounced. So your metabolism is like this fire. And if you have the right kind of fuel, then it will burn for a long time. And if you have the wrong kind of fuel, it'll burn in fast spurts, but it's not going to last you a lifetime, and might not even get you through the day. So there's a movie you can watch, is a documentary, and I wanted to introduce it to you because of these fine physicians who have come to some rather remarkable conclusions, and people who have done thesis work on it and many other things of that nature. And they have all come to the conclusion that fat in our diets is not the problem, and what is the problem is the sugars that we're eating. And you've probably heard about that before. Have you heard about that before?
I've heard so many different things that...
yeah, everybody gets really confused.
Yeah, it's
confusing. But it's very simple. It's so simple. It's so many good things that we've done with our diets for centuries. And then we decided we were smarter than that, or somehow we decided, fats are bad for us, because we started thinking in terms of caloric intake and calorie, and people say a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. Well, it turns out that's not quite true. In fact, that's pretty much not true at all. We'll be talking about that somewhat. And we'll also be talking about a blend that can help you so that you can restore where you are, rev your engine, keep your your glycemic level at a really nice, even flow. And interestingly, it's an oil as well. So this is what we've been taught for a long time, that is good to eat, right? Doesn't this look about what you think? Oh yeah, big things of non-starchy vegetables, a little bit of protein, but make sure it's lean because you don't want fat in it. And then some starchy more things of grains. So we've got lots of non-starchy vegetables. We've got a little bit of starchy vegetables and grains, and then we've got lean protein. But what we really end up with is like this. This is really what we're ending up with on a daily American diet. Is this much bread, or this much starch, or a huge percentage of our diet, up to 75% of our diet, is coming from starches instead of from fats and things besides sugars, which is also in the starch category. So this is what happens when you do a carbohydrate, which a carbohydrate is anything that raises your blood sugar to a certain level. We're going to just call it really simplistically that, even though it's a lot more than that. But it's a fast burning kind of fuel in your body. And so it's often in the breads and also in vegetables and fruits. So we have that constantly in our diet. And so when we eat a fair amount of that, our blood sugar will go really high, and then over time it'll come down really fast. And when it comes down fast, we get really, really hangry. In the last 40 years, when we decided that sugar wasn't the culprit, but fat was the culprit, diabetes and heart disease and so many other problems with health and have happened just in that short period of time by the changes in diets. And it can also be environmental. We're not going to not say that that's not part of it, but it just spiked. And it came across, especially in 1980, when there was a big push by our wonderful leaders to change our diets so that we wouldn't get obese. And what did we do instead? Well, here's what we used to look like. And I think in a lot of ways, some people say, I just read this on that movie. I'm giving a lot of credit to that movie that I was just telling you about. So let's just look at this as a documentary. And you can see what the people look like. And this is what people looked like. I mean, this is like across the board. This wasn't like, oh, we'll just take these models and we'll put them in this picture. This was just a bunch of people watching Apollo, what was it, 5 or 12, something. Anyway, some Apollo thing shooting off. Probably the first one, actually.
Probably the first one.
And then on the other side, you see people just walking right across the street. So we went from this to this in 40 years. I mean, you know, really, we changed, didn't we? So 75% of us are overweight or obese. Okay, we're in a crisis now. And 1 in 2 of us are pre-diabetic, or we have type 2 diabetes. And it's a lot of unnecessary suffering because of that. And we thought this was bad, and so we reduced. We reduced significantly how much we were intaking. And then we went from there to eating things like this. We complied, and we added more carbohydrates. We ate less and less of these. And we added more and more of these and sugars. We ate 50% of those plus, and we ate more. But what we saw was the efforts that people have tried to do to reduce the problems that they're dealing with in their bodies is having little effect, no matter what they do. If they adhere to the what's called the standard US guidelines, they actually end up with no changes. And here are the real results. On an individual, it's $900 a month for insulin. Now, somebody's paying for that. If somebody's using the insulin, it's part of insurance to cover it, right? So $900 a month for that, $1 billion a day in cost to this kind of like epidemic problem, right?
That is astounding.
Yeah, it really is.
Astounding.
And there's monetary costs, and then there's personal suffering and pain and debilitation, and that is what's really staggering. So we can have a choice, and these choices have been here for a long time. We have the low carb diet and the low fat diet. Now, just look at those and tell me, you know, what you think. I think that I've seen both diets at our house quite frequently, and they're both called really good diets, right? But this one on the right side is loaded with sugar, and the one on the left is not.
Yeah, that.
So, did you like? Oh, that's my diet.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, that's like my breakfast most of the time. Once in a while, that, but he
loves the other one. I mean, he just loves it. Yeah. So high carbs of the last 40 years versus high fat for the rest of human existence. And this is what it would look like. So if we keep going the way we're going, we can still get the results that we're having. So if you were on a football team or a basketball team or any kind of team, and for the last 40 years, if you hadn't won one game, would you keep playing the same way? So here we have it with our carbohydrates, very slim amount, and then our proteins, about 20%. Fats are not, it's not like you're eating a whole bunch of fat, because fat is dense with nutrients, but it's also more calories, right? So that's why it's like 75%. And that's why people thought, well, if I just take out all the fat, then I'll take out all the calories. But what they weren't realizing that was the changes that would happen to all their hormones, all of their hormones. They ate the sugars instead, right? Okay. So here's what we can eat. Isn't that awesome? Coconut oil and olive oil and olives and avocados. And you can, and for some, I wouldn't say for all, but if you choose to use cheeses, which are also a fat, or butter, then do your best to have the cleanest kind you can, which are organics. So you see nuts and seeds there too.
So fats are more dense, and that's why people got confused with their more calories. So they thought, well, take out the calories.
They'll take out the calories.
So is a fat more filling as well? So do you feel more full?
Oh yes. Oh yes. We'll talk about that some more.
Cool.
So this is what it looks like to eat less sugar in your diet. Less sugar, more satisfaction, just like you were saying. And so once you take out the sugar, you don't have that spiky thing that goes down into nothingness, right? So I think I don't have the slide in here that shows that, which is too bad. I think it got pulled somehow. But so you do the spike with the carbohydrate. But if you use fats, there's almost no spike whatsoever. It's just very neutral. But you will feel satiated and you'll feel full all day long if you use fats in your diet instead of sugars. And your hormones, and insulin's part of that, right, will be stabilized. And that's what we want to do. We want to stabilize these blood issues, these problematic situations that we have with this, but also we're pouring so much sugar into our bodies that it's kind of like filling a cup and then it just keeps being overflowing, right? And pretty soon the body just doesn't know what to do with it anymore. And that's when your insulin providers kind of shut down. And then you add what? More insulin so that it opens up those courses again and then eat more of sugar. Any way you look at it, it's not going to be a healthy result. So when you first start, and I'm advocating for this idea of doing a fat diet with fats in it and not with carbohydrates, okay? I'm advocating this because the cravings that you have will stabilize if you focus on proteins and fats and not carbohydrates. And so as you do that, but when you first start, you're going to need to have some help. And this is what Slim and Sassy can do. You can put it in your water, you can put it in your drinks. I don't know if you can see that probably. You can put it in there and drink that. You can put it on your body. But the idea is to stabilize that craving that you have and also help oxygenate the blood. And some of the things that are in the Slim and Sassy act as diuretics.
So let me make sure I got this straight, because this is very counterintuitive.
Okay.
If you reduce the carbs, the sugars, and increase the fat, you will actually have a better chance of maintaining a healthy weight.
Absolutely.
And if you take the fat out,
absolutely,
that's like we've been so programmed the other way for so long.
Yeah.
That's just like totally.
Absolutely.
That's making my mind go. that's really something.
So you can all watch this TEDx if you want to, but this particular doctor, and I don't have her name on the slide right now, but she decided to use her own patients because she couldn't justify the fact that giving her patients carbohydrates was going to help when it very well says don't, increase sugar levels in your diet. And so she's like, well, what am I supposed to do here? So she started doing this. And right now with the government diet, this is how successful it's been. There are a lot of bodies there, and see that 1/2 blue body? That's the one that got helped by sticking on the government diet. And that's the kind of results she was getting. She switched over to a high fats diet, and these were the immediate results within 6 months.
With her patients?
With her patients.
Wow.
With her patients.
Wow.
And she's had success beyond that. Even these ones that you see that are still in the red, even they were more successful, even if they couldn't get off the insulin, which the other ones were able to do. They were able to have a much healthier life and have less insulin than they had before.
That is amazing.
And also the weight drops. The weight drops because sugar helps stimulate the fat. And once your body is satiated, then it starts burning the fats on your body, which it's supposed to do anyway. That's what they're meant for. And that's how you get that over time. Remember the very first slide that I showed the picture of the fire burning? That's the stuff that burns a long time. And so it keeps your body more healthy over the long term. So now you can enjoy what you eat, right? So you can think in terms of eating poultry and eating eggs and eating seafood. And you don't just think about eating very lean meats, because that's not going to satiate. You need the fats in your meal. You can add other fats.
All kinds of interesting
yeah, you can
ideas,
go. You could be vegetarian. You don't need to eat red meat and pork. You can do it with oils other ways.
It's just so interesting. It's kind of liberating to not have to worry about the fats, but to actually, because those are really savory foods.
And the meal, because you're not having that sugar jag, you're not going to have the hangries. You're not going to have that bam and hit the bottom. You're going to be stable. And this is the kind of meal that stabilizes. Once again, revving your engine. This helps to get that engine going, and it'll help to burn the fats and keep the fire burning. We want to do that, right? So this is kind of stretched out because I wanted you to see it, but I'm just going to read a few of the things. Like the primary benefits are a healthy metabolism and manage hunger cravings, and it acts as a stimulant, a diuretic, and it's calorie free. So those are awesome things to help your body. And it tells you just some ways to do it. You can go onto the doTERRA site and see this. Would you slice in the little... So now we're going to switch over to Slim and Sassy for just a minute. I'm going to give you a little bit more information about it, and then we'll come back to that.
Okay, right here.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to go through this rather quickly. We've talked about Slim and Sassy in the past. We're just going to go through it a bit. So it's a metabolic blend. It's made to help your metabolism work better. Remember how we were talking about, well, how my metabolism's kind of sluggish? Well, these things are going to act as antioxidants. They're going to help open up those blood pathways so that you have more circulation going through your body. It's going to rev the engine. Cinnamon's known to do that. Ginger does that. And then it's going to help reduce the extra water weight that you have on your body. So
those are all in Slim and Sassy.
Yeah, all of those are in Slim and Sassy.
Huh.
Can you get past the name if we change the label? We'll just put a dark label on it. Somehow the sassy thing just doesn't go for him.
Tough and beefy or something for the men's version.
Yeah. So I remember very specifically when I first started using Slim and Sassy, I used to get terrible sugar cravings, and I have changed my diet significantly, so I don't have that I'm dealing with. Just on a very rare basis, I will just I gotta have it, but I don't. And if I just grab Slim and Sassy, I actually like the Slim and Sassy gum. It has stevia and xylitol in it, so it doesn't spike. But I also use the Slim and Sassy, and it does all of these things. It's pretty cool. I'll actually put it in a bathtub with some Epsom salts and some baking soda and a little bit of oil. Like I usually use coconut oil, and it just helps act as a diuretic, but it also kind of stimulates, makes you feel super good. So, all right. So you can use it in many ways, right? Check to make sure if you're sensitive. I'm not very sensitive, but you can be. And then it just tells different ways that you can use it here. And you can also do it in a soft gel. I think they're pretty nice, but I do have to eat it with food. When I do it with a soft gel, I can't eat it on an empty stomach. It's just a little bit too strong for me. It might be the peppermint, but I kind of think it's probably the ginger and the grapefruit, and it's just a little bit too much for me. So I have to have it with food. Other people might be just fine. And then, you know, these are some of the natural effects that you're going to have as a result. And is that it? That's probably it. Okay, let's move out of that now. We'll go to the end of the other. I just wanted you to get an idea of what Slim and Sassy can do for you while you're in the middle of trying to keep away from the hangries. I find my best unhangriness is to go for something that has fat in it, which is really interesting. So I'll grab coconut butter. It's often called, what is it called?
Coconut manna?
Coconut manna or something like that.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'll put that in my not trim shakes, in my shakes. Like if I do like a vegetable shake in the morning, I'll stick that in there. I also like to use a coconut oil when I do like a balsamic or something. And so you get, you know, the really good natural fats. Yeah. I love avocado, so it's an easy for me to go for an avocado on anything. and I use that a lot too. If you're into making your own mayonnaise, is it just probably not plural? So mayonnaise types, then I'm sure you can add that in as well, and just you know, choose the kind of spices that you like in that, and you could do that so you could have it for your meats if you like to do a cold meat like cold turkey, cold chicken, cold turkey. Anyway, so that'll help you that way. And then I'm just going to go over this really quickly. And then at the end, we'll have questions. Love to hear what you've done. I know I've got some people on here who already are very, very versed in these things. So we'd like to have them talk if they want to. But just so you know, you can purchase that wonderful Slim and Sassy oil. And I had it in my hands before I got on, but it stayed upstairs while I came down. But you've seen the picture of it. So you can buy that. You can have it for a multitude of ways, and you can get to the point where you're getting it free on a monthly basis if you want to use it that often. And you'll stay healthy. And so just want to say thank you and hope that you have more joy and less annoy with your stomach doesn't bother you, that if you do move into hangry, that you know some of the things you can do. Instead of going for a fruit or a vegetable, go for a vegetable with some peanut butter on it, right? Or a fruit with some peanut butter on it.
Or avocado.
Or grab some nuts or some, you know, grab something that's really going to give you a longer lasting. And you can still figure out how many fats you want to do on a daily basis. And so you're not just, you know, loading on the fats into your diet, but find the place where you're satiated and stick with that, and then reduce from there if you need to. But seriously, think in terms of having, you know, 75% to I'll say between 60 to 75% of your diet being fats. And then, I mean, as far as the caloric intake, right? And going from there. So
guys, this is just something for the guys. If the Slim and Sassy thing bugs you, then just turn the bottle around so you don't have to look at the name. But I've always, you know, when I see those slides that show what's in it, I have this kind of flashback of being in the health food store and thinking, oh gosh, I really should have ginger. I really should have peppermint. I should, you know, all these things. And it's all in there. I put 8 drops in my water, and it's all there, everything I need. And so I may not be feeling slim and sassy, but I'm feeling really healthy, and I know I'm getting those nutrients that I need. That's going to help keep that fire burning the way it should in a really healthy way.
Thank you. So the science has now caught up with us. We now have it available to us. We know that these other ways are actually healthier for us. The science was there a long, long time ago. You know, it wasn't like it just popped out of the air. It's just that we took a detour and really believed that sugar was the way to go for numbers of reasons. And I'm not going to get into that personally. But we did that, and now we're seeing the results of when you mess with your metabolism, when you mess with your hormones. And we can undo that. We can undo it faster if we add some essential oils to the process, but it'll still help us to heal and get better. So hopefully you'll all try a little bit less carbs this week, and you'll try a little bit more fats. It'll be a little scary for some of you. You won't know maybe which ones to put in. Just grab a handful of nuts instead of a candy bar. Start there and see what happens, and let us know next week. We'd love to hear your results.
Absolutely. And if you come up with any great recipes with good fats, pass those along too.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome. So we're gonna go off. We didn't record. Okay.
It is recording.
We are